morning, everyone. Well, it's morning for me at least, or good evening, wherever you are. Thanks for being here in this live stream. I'm Ari Dossett in Coleman Rashid. I'm an anthropologist and sociologist, and today I'm going to talk about criminal investigation that goes on in the state of Idaho in the United States. And let me share the screen for now. Hold on. All right. Just to show you where Idaho is. Okay, let me go over here. So on Google Maps, it is Idaho, this odd-shaped state over here. It's bordering the state of Washington, state of Oregon, Montana, and Wyoming, Utah, and Nevada. This area used to be colonized by France. Then we became part of the Spanish Empire, and then we became part of the United States around 1819. That's when Spain sold the big area of Oregon over here, became Oregon country, and later on it became a state of Idaho. And you have an Indian reservation there also. If you can see here, the reservation over here. Oh, there are two reservations over there. And the state's also bordering Canada. Very briefly above here. So you know which place I'm talking about. And the crimes took place in the city called Moscow, not the capital of Russia, but hold on. Yeah, here, Moscow of Idaho, right over here, close to the border with the state of Washington. Yes, right over here. It's very close to the border over there. Just want you to know where it is. So I'm going now to an article in The Guardian that's 8 months old. I'm not starting with the new, fresh article, so you'll understand later why. All right? Now, hold on. For those that are here, can you confirm if you can hear me clearly, please? I forgot to ask early in the start, my bad. Meanwhile, I'm checking on my mobile phone too, if I'm audible through the internet. Just one moment. So I want to be sure that you are following all that I'm saying over here. So hold on. Okay, good. I just checked it out and it's working perfectly fine. So I can continue. Okay, let's go to the article. Again, it's 8 months old. Things that developed in the case. Lack of clues about University of Idaho killings fuels fear and rumors. Pay attention to this, fear and rumors. It fuels fear. Now, who feeds off of fear? Human fear. Evil spirits do, as I explained before. Okay? And, okay, it was on Tuesday, November 22nd, in 2022, last year. Let's read. The baffling murders of 4 students at an off-campus home last week have sown frustration and alarm in the small city of Moscow. Colonel Gedrick Wills, director of the Idaho State Police in the small northern Idaho city of Moscow, had a simple message. We know that people want answers. We want answers too, he said in a recent press conference. A manhunt has now been underway for more than a week in this remote college town, where a still unidentified suspects stabbed 4 University of Idaho students to death in the early morning hours of 30th of November. Okay. Okay, I'm going to read further, then I'm going to give some comments. The victims of the quadruple homicide, Ethan Cappins, 20, Kylie Gonsalves, 21, Shana Carnodell, 20, and Madison Morgan, 21, were killed as they slept in an off-campus house on King Road, located near the university sorority and fraternity houses. A motive and the identity of who did the violent crime remain unknown. When Wills made his appeal before the television camera, he was not just speaking for the traumatized university community or the terrified college town that surrounded it. He was speaking for his state and the wider American public, which had watched in horror as more grim details of the gruesome slayings have come to light, except for the most crucial ones of all: why this happened and who did it. There are few clues. In the hours for the murder, Morgan and Gonsalves were at a downtown Moscow bar called the Gordon Club between 10 p.m. and 1:30 a.m., then visited a late-night food truck. Three of the two close friends who attended high school together and both worked at the local Greek restaurant showed them ordering pasta with no signs of apparent distress. At approximately 1:40 a.m., Morgan and Gonsalves received a ride home from a private party. A person detectives have investigated and currently do not suspect had anything to do with the pair's homicide. During the same time frame, Chapin and Carondale were at the party at Sigma Chi, a fraternity house on the University of Idaho campus, until approximately 1:45 a.m. When they returned to the King Roadhouse, Carondale, Morgan, and Gonsalves were roommates. Chapin did not live at the house, but appeared to be staying for the night. All of the victims were members of the University of Idaho sorority or fraternity. Their bodies were found on the second and third floors of the house. So there was a massacre. They got, in the sense that the individual went nuts. They got stabbed. We got the call. I don't want people to make assumptions about our kids. It wasn't drugs, and it was definitely not some passion thing between these kids. Someone entered the house. Stacy Chapin told the Idaho Statesman 4 days after his son's body was discovered. Okay, how come the parent is so certain about something and just happened a few days ago? That's a bit off. Authorities estimated the time of the murders was between 3 and 4 a.m. Two additional unidentified roommates were asleep during the attack, according to the Moscow police. They reportedly were out until 1 a.m. and then slept until the Mayday's hours next day. A cell phone belonging to one of the surviving roommates was used to place the initial 911 call. Police announced that detectives were recently made aware of multiple phone calls from Morgan and Gonsalves to a male. That man, who remains unidentified by police, has been ruled out as potential suspect. My goodness. Okay, I'm back. Hold on. Something's off here. How come people rule out so quickly? Okay. Let's continue. I'm not going to read all of it. It was unclear how the attack got into the home or what kind of knife was used in the stabbings. Police researched dumpsters around King Road for evidence but uncovered nothing of value. No weapon has been found, nor has any clothing worn by the suspect thus far been located. Okay. Okay, so they work with the FBI together. Okay, so just be sure about one thing here. This is an old article released on Tuesday, 2nd November. The thing happened on the 13th of November, so 9 days earlier. So it's a bit more than a week. In this article, either it's bad journalism, but it seems like they already certain someone not from the community that did it. It's like they want to give the message, oh, it's not one of us, not one of us, not one of us. That is the message that comes out of this text. And one thing I want you to understand, you don't have to specifically or explicitly say something to transfer a message. For example, if you don't want certain people to come to a party, you can say, oh, parties for is an invitation. So you saying a party is an invitation simply means that you don't want certain people to come. You don't explicitly say, oh, I don't want you to come to the party. You don't say that, but you say it's an invitation. So yeah, people have to wait to be invited. People cannot pay to enter in. So by saying the party is an invitation, you already imply that certain people are not allowed to come, without especially saying who's not allowed to come. Or for example, if you have to get a visa to enter a country, that means that you are blocked from just operating in that other country. Or and if you have to apply for a visa, that means your visa can be declined. That means that country has a bias of who they want in and who they want out. And of course, we'll always say, well, we want to keep criminals and bad people out. No, 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 no. That's not what it's about. Visa regimes are all about sexual control. I'll talk about it in another live stream. All right. So communities in fear, stress out what just happened, and guess what? Later on, they found their suspect. All right. First, these are the victims shown over here. Once you check it out, more and more came out, and suddenly they had a suspect. It took a while, people became frustrated. Here it says, the police say they recognize how frustrating the lack of news can be for families and the public, but insist they don't want to jeopardize the case. All right. There's another time someone expressed frustration because the families of the victims felt were left in the dark. They went to the media to express the fact that they don't feel like they were well informed or they took the case seriously and all of that. So all this frustration came out. And he said, Brian Christopher Koberger, 28, a resident of Pullman, Washington, then a doctoral student at Washington State University. As shown before, Moscow, Idaho is very close to the border with Washington. Okay, this is the state of Washington right over here. So now they say that the suspect was someone that resided in the state of Washington. They went to university over there as PhD students, but he officially came from Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is a state all the way over here at the East Coast. All right, for Americans that travel across state borders to move and work, it's a common thing. So they found their suspect. He was a doctoral student into criminology. And this is what the police officer said, or at least the one who spoke to the press. What I can tell is that we have an individual in custody who committed these horrible crimes, and I believe our community is safe. Hold on. I hope you get where I'm going with this. 3rd of November, crimes are committed. Following month, all the way into December, people thinking, what the heck goes on? Why is no suspect, no suspect? There's pressure from the public. Because Christmas is over, New Year's entering, and suddenly they have a suspect, and on the December 31st, they show who the suspect is. So they bring the individual back to Idaho because they asked FBI for aid and all of that to help them out, all of that. So I'm not going through all the thing, but eventually they want to give this guy the death penalty. Have you seen him in court wearing orange color Freemasonry? I know it's a common color they use for defendants and prisoners, but still, it's Freemasonry. It's in a courthouse. And they want to now here to give details on how they want to execute the guy. And they say, consequently, considering all evidence currently known to the state is compelled by whom? To file this notice of intent to seek the death penalty. Now, in 8 months' time, they kind of are certain he is our guy. But the defense is not convinced, of course, not because they're the defense. And the thing about this, Mr. Koberger, is that he remained silent for a while. Well, that's your right. You have a right to remain silent. You're not obliged to offer any information when you are the target of a criminal investigation. You're not obliged to comply with something that incriminates you. I mean, the ones that charge you or will accuse you, is on them to prove that you did it. Now, coming 2nd of October, it's going to be a grand jury trial about it. And the alibi is he was driving off. He was on the road driving off, something he often did. But because there's nobody to confirm he was driving off, they kind of dismiss it as a weak defense. But hold on a minute. How come they can't track his phone records? See where his phone was pinging. Then you know where his phone was. And I mean, if you go out to drive, maybe he didn't take his phone, maybe he did. You can check that out, right? So, yeah, that's the overview of the case. And you may ask Rashid why you're talking about this case, because one thing I want you to understand here. When a crime happens, it traumatizes the community. Now, if the case is solved quickly, people will resume life as it is, as it was before, continuing in their cycles. But if a case is quite unexpected and shocking, just like that, and the situation around the case is suspicious, it becomes a cultural event. A cultural event isn't just where you go to a conference or you go to a festival or to a national holiday. A cultural event is also something traumatic happens that shapes the way a society functions or the way a community operates. And in this case, you barely hear anything about it in the Netherlands. It means something goes on in the United States. It is a cultural event by now. So, and as a cultural event, I, as an anthropologist, I examine it as an outsider. I look at the whole context around this event. I don't just look at the event itself, like mainstream media is doing. I look at what goes on around it. Because no cultural event happens in a vacuum. There are social relationships involved. There are political dramas, political conflicts, all that plays a role. Now, one more thing about this case is that after this guy has been charged, suddenly you have those people from his past showing up, giving testimonies. Now, my question is, where were all those people in the first days when he was arrested? Why didn't come out with their testimonies then? Why did it come out after the whole case been going on for months? Because now the public is convinced he's guilty. And I do not want to come with speculations. I come with probable explanations, what I'm doing. Just think about it. If the guy is arrested and should come out giving testimonies about him that make him look bad, and later he's proven to be innocent, he's released, guess what's going to look bad on you? But if the public is already convinced he's the one that did it, and you come out with those testimonies, you're going to get a pat on the back. Rashid, are you telling me people just want to get attention and want to get validation, and that's why they're taking advantage of the situation? Yes, it is. I'm saying that. Look, a guy that is a PhD student in criminology who knows how the legal system of the United States works, and he committing a crime so sloppy like this, And also, the defense is claiming the following. Well, not claiming, the defense says the following. Okay, listen, the affidavit released in January outlined some of the evidence against the accused killer, including his DNA on a knife sheath left at the scene of the murders, the surveillance footage, and cell phone activity. The sheath for a military or Kabar-style knife was found partly under Morgan's body after she and Gonsalves were found stabbed multiple times on Morgan's bed on the third floor of the home. DNA on the button clasps of the sheath was then found to match that of the 28-year-old accused killer. Mr. Kohlberger's attorney have sought to cast doubts on the strength of this DNA evidence, in particular the use of genetic genealogy. According to the affidavit in the case, the FBI used genetic genealogy database to try to identify the DNA source. Trash was then collected from the suspect's parents' home in the Poconos Mountains, and a familial match from Mr. Kohlberg's father was made to the sheath, according to the criminal affidavit. Following Mr. Kohlberg's arrest on 3rd of December, DNA samples were taken directly from the suspect and came back as a statistical match. Okay. Motive remains unknown. It's still unclear what the suspect and the students had in common, or what was. And they said the murder weapon, a fixed blade knife, has still never been found. Wait. You mean to tell me that the murder weapon is not been found? But you're ready just because there's a match with someone's DNA, a statistical match. You automatically say it's him all along? Okay, live 50 minutes away. Okay. Look, I'm going over this case over and over just to show you that most people have this appeal for authority. I'm talking about the public now. When an authority figure says something, they tend to believe it just because they carry the title of authority. Okay, that over here. An appeal to authority simply comes down to an authority claims something and people just assume it's true. They don't look into it. Now, look at me wrong. If I'm a car mechanic and I give an opinion about cars, because I'm a car mechanic and there are receipts of me having experience with cars, you're more likely to believe what I say because there's proof to suggest that what I'm saying is valid. If I would be a medical doctor with years of experience in work in a hospital, and I give an argument about this medicine or a medical treatment, you don't automatically say Rashid is right, but you would at least consider it of what I said of high regard because of my background. So trusting the viewpoint of someone with receipts of expertise in a field, there's nothing wrong with that. What I'm talking about is when people just believe what someone says just because they're an authority figure and don't look further into it. That is what I'm talking about. And that's something you see with this case. I mean, there are people online on YouTube, true crime channels talking about this case. A lot of them are talking about it. But very few people, even amongst those people in the quote-unquote true crime community, have expressed criticism of this case. I only counted one individual online who proposed that the Idaho police has been neglectful in this case. But understand this. People, means worldly people, because of their inherent urge to escape, They do not want long-term responsibility. They want to delegate, they want to transfer that long-term responsibility onto a cult. Worldlings have a cult attitude. Worldlings don't want to be present in life, dealing with all the challenges that comes with life. They want a quote-unquote safe space to escape where they're left unbothered and left alone. That is what worldlings crave. Anytime this bubble of ease is disrupted by crime or something bad in the community, they get upset. And the primary thing worldlings want is it to be over with so they can continue escaping. When something takes longer and that bubble is not coming back, people begin to lose their minds. And when people begin to lose their minds, they tend to look for victims to offload upon. So, to prevent this random offloading on victims, in ancient times, you had what we call the scapegoat mechanism, in which the leaders of the community, on behalf of the public, would select a victim, someone who couldn't fight back easily, and they would hand over the individual as an outlet to the community. And it was important for the whole community to participate in either stoning or lynching the victim, so that no specific individual would take the blame. Or if someone was to be blamed, would blame the judge or would blame the authority figure in place. And the community would be seen as innocent. Well, the scapegoat mechanism has not been removed. The scapegoat mechanism is still here. But now you have the police forces and the legal system policing this scapegoat mechanism. Now, am I saying that Brian Kobiger is the victim here? No, I'm not saying that. What I'm pointing out here is that this begins to look like a scapegoat mechanism here. Because all the focus is on the suspect. Where's the focus on the community? Look, I've checked Idaho a bit further. Because remember, I'm an anthropologist. I look at the context of things that happen. And I figured out that Idaho has its controversies. And hold on, let me see. There was a prison scandal 2015. It's a bit a while ago, but still, there was a scandal over there. And it was big enough to have a criminal investigation into it. And but they still didn't want to go into it. You have other issues like white supremacists over there. There are other white supremacists active over there also. And hold on, what's another thing here? In 2022, just a few months prior to the Idaho 4 killings, one representative was found guilty of felony rape in sentence. So, in short, Idaho is known to have issues and controversies. And with this happening, it kind of breaks the bubble of ease of the public. When a representative of the public is sentenced or charged in a criminal way, it shatters the trust of the public. This public trust is how society functions. People need to assume that those with a leverage over them, whether it's the government or family members or employers, whatever, have their best interest. This is the assumption people in society have. If something goes wrong in the community and it's not resolved quickly, people can deny it. But denial is going to backfire. And eventually the public trust is gone. When public trust is gone out of a community, it will lead to hysteria, it will lead to paranoia, and those two will lead to domestic violence and outbursts of negativity. And that's going to increase and increase. And before you know it, the whole community is going off at one another. That is something the authorities don't want to happen. So it's not strange that from time to time, authority figures will show up, whether it's from the government or someone with high esteem in the community, will come up to show their quote-unquote competence to restore public trust. Let's go back to here. As you can read, public trust was decreasing there in Idaho. And suddenly, on the 30th of December 2022, there was an increase slowly in public trust. Because think about it. If during the court case, this guy's released, all charges are dropped against him, that means the public trust in Idaho will become low again. Because that means they've wasted tax dollars, public money on this guy, what it could have been looking for someone else. So even if this guy is literally innocent, I don't think they will let him go. Maybe they cannot charge him for the murders, but they will charge him for something else, just so the public will have some ease that, oh, at least we got someone. Look, this whole idea that just because the government says something, you have to believe them, it needs to get out of you. Many people went to prison and later was proven that they were innocent. But back by the time when they went to prison, people trusted authorities. Oh, you don't get a conviction to go to prison just like that. But that's the thing. The public wants to assume that those with the leverage over them have the best interest, even when no proof of that best interest is there. You even see this with grown children that come from abusive families. You explain to those grown children, listen, you're an adult now. The reason why you have so many mental issues and go to psychiatrists over and over again is because you come from a background that was messed up. Those grown folks, some say, yeah, but my mom and dad, they're good people. They just had some issues, all that. You got to tell them, I'm sorry. They were grown folks. You were just a child. Them treating you like that is not proper. If they had issues, you should look for help instead of taking it out on you. You have grown folks who have a hard time admitting when the people that when it comes out that people that raised them were not good people. And here's another thing. Worldlings often have a hard time admitting when the community did them dirty, when the community neglects them, when the community victimized them. People rather have a villain to explode upon than to admit, you know what, we as a community, we're messed up. There's something wrong with us that we as a group needs to address. Okay, whether this guy really did kill those four or not, that's not the relevant thing here. What's relevant is that the community in Idaho is upset, and if they don't have an outlet, that unrest will ferment and lead to further disintegration in that state. And neither the regime in Washington, D.C., nor the state authorities want this to happen, especially not the businesses. Because when a community disintegrates, it will lead to less sales. It will lead to an economic and financial decline. So there are many interests involved there, not only from the government, also from the business world, and also from the common folks who just want to escape to make sure this guy is the one. Look, again, I'm not saying this guy is innocent, because I don't know, and I'm not here to decide whether he's innocent or not. I'm pointing out the situation around this case. Because too often when you have a case like this, we focus on the perpetrator. We develop this obsession with the perpetrator. Why did they do it? How did they do it? Oh, they're so bad. Or sometimes people get obsessed with the victims. Oh, look, all those poor victims, this and that. They begin to deify the victims. Whether it's people get obsessed with the alleged perpetrator or they deify the victims, both are ways to escape facing the dysfunction of the community. So what do we learn from this? Okay, let me stop the screen sharing. What we learn from this is the following. When the public's when the public's ease, when the quote unquote private bubbles of the masses are disrupted, they get unease. When the public's in unease and they don't have an outlet quickly with unease, that unease becomes a disease in the population, and a disease will lead to further violence and escalations. So don't think it's strange that the quote-unquote authorities may set someone up. Okay, even if the guy is really the one who did it, just give him the death penalty won't solve anything. First of all, you won't get those 4 people back. They're dead. Killing this guy too is not going to solve anything. What they should do is, okay, besides putting this guy in prison, check what's wrong with the community, why the United States has so many people losing their mind, killing folks, and do something about it. But to do something about it, you have to at first admit there's something wrong with the community. And that's the problem. A lot of people in the world simply won't do that. So that's why you have this cycle over and over again. People are neglectful, things go wrong. When things go wrong, they want someone to blame. They don't care whether the individual is guilty or innocent. They have someone to blame. They can release the unrest, then they continue escaping again. That is how it repeats over and over again. Whether the individual they escalate on is guilty or not doesn't matter. They just need this outlet to transfer the unrest. And courthouses and judges are aware of this, that the public insists on an outlet. Why do you think there are innocent people in prison and the judge refused to release them? Because if the judge would release those people quickly who are innocent, this would be an embarrassment on the legal system, and people may think, hey, if the legal system can't handle it, we have to do it ourselves. That's something you want to prevent. But also, if you're proven to be innocent and the courthouse releases you, some people are invested in seeing you as the guilty one. And they'll insist on that. So they'll come out to take revenge themselves. What I'm saying is this is how it works with fallen mankind. They want an outlet for the unrest. They're not looking for any solution to solve the source of the unrest. Look, I knew about this case early on because I follow news from the United States. And to me, it was weird that out of the blue was big focus on this guy, only this guy. I knew from that point on, people just want to get away from dealing with the dysfunctional community. That's it. Now, in no way did I incriminate the victims who were killed. Absolutely not. What I did do is point out that, hold on a minute, when something goes wrong in your community, you as community members, you sit down, you reflect on what happened, and you admit where things are dysfunctional. In this case, the guy was not a local. He's all the way from Pennsylvania. So now the community can say, oh, it's this outsider who did it. Look at the poor us. We're harmed by this outsider. And now the Idaho community can bond again, and everyone will at least temporarily forget about all the other scandals around. It's not wrong for me to point out this looks similar to a scapegoat mechanism. And in a scapegoat mechanism, the guilt or innocence of the target does not matter, only the public gets ease. But if the target is guilty, okay, if the target is guilty, just offloading on the guilty target will not solve the issues of the community. Simple as that. And listen to what I'm saying. This appeal to authority is something disturbing. Okay, let's forget about the Idaho murders for now. Let's talk in general. All those people they went to prison for crimes they did not commit, and later was proven they were innocent, spent years, sometimes decades behind prison. All the people that were involved in the court case that got them behind prison, they all moved on, got married, some got divorced, some had children, all of that, and they were in prison while they were innocent. And people didn't care about the reviewing the case. Said, hey, the judge said it, the judge made the decision, or the jury said it. It was after a lot of pressure from outsiders, finding people into the case, oh, he's innocent. If the pressure from outside did not come, they would still be in prison. Some people were even executed, got a death penalty, and sometimes decades later it was proven, oh, they were innocent. My thing is, when the court cases were going on, everyone in general, of course there are a few exceptions, but in general, everyone had this appeal to authority, trusting the legal system, trusting the police. Even when there's proof that a case is suspicious or a case is off, people would shut their mouth and say, hey, I'm not the expert or I'm not the judge. No. When you know that something is off or something doesn't add up or something is suspicious, you call it out. If you're not certain that it's safe to call it out because you don't want people to turn on you, hint that something may be off. And if you notice people are not open to it, then you shut your mouth, but at least you move away from that community because that means you're not safe over there. Remember, I told you, worldlings do not want to be present in life, facing all the challenges of life. They want to transfer responsibility to some cult. Worldlings have a cult attitude. That means anytime authority decides something, they have the assumption there must be a good reason for it. If police officers go too far, using a lot of force on a suspect, and the force was unnecessary, even when you have video evidence that the police went too far, the suspect was not fighting back, the suspect was not resisting arrest, the suspect was compliant, the police still used unnecessary force on them. Even when there's proof of it in their face, they will say, oh, well, the police officer may have been stressed out, it's a stressful job being a police officer. I'm sorry. If the police officer cannot handle the stress of the job, it shouldn't be a police officer, simple as that. They'll come up with all types of excuses why they shouldn't address the fact, okay, those with the leverage, in this case, the authorities went too far. Why are they not admitting this even when the proof is in their face? Because once they admit, in case of police brutality, the police went too far, they also have to admit, okay, this is an incident when the police went too far and it was recorded. What about all the incidents that are not recorded? And how come these police officers are still at work and not the superiors discipline them for it? So are there many more police officers like this? Yes, there are. So the probability of you being treated that way by the police also exists. And that's something people don't want to accept. The fact that there's risk to their leave me alone bubble. As long as the leave me alone bubble of worldlings is kept intact, they don't mind what goes on. They may be upset, but they don't mind, as long as the leave me alone bubble is intact. The moment news comes out that's a leave me alone bubble, worldlings go on the defensive. And sometimes they go on the offensive, attacking anyone that calls out the situation what it is. Or maybe you have this parent who screams and slaps a child very hard in public. People say, well, the child was a bit annoyed or the child didn't comply. Listen, a grown man should not use his bodily strength on a little child. Why doesn't he slap a grown man like that? Or he's not going to do that. Look, just because someone is in authority or they have a title of authority does not mean that they always have a good reason for what they're doing. If a human being in authority or in an authority role goes too far, they've went too far. If they're wrong, they're wrong. And you as a community, is on you to call it out and insist on the rectification of the situation. If you as a community deny to make excuses, means you're in on it and you're to blame for all the bad outcomes that follows. Simple as that. But again, worldlings do not want responsibility. They want to escape, be left alone, and be unbothered in their ease. That is what is on the mind of worldlings. Worldlings don't care whether you're guilty or innocent. As long as you're locked up behind bars, or as long as you're executed, or as long as you're out of the way and they have their ease, That is what matters to them. That is what matters. So the best thing to do in life is to walk away from toxic and bad situations. Because once you're stuck in a bad situation, you might end up as the focus of the public. Let's say you're attacked by someone. Of course, people have to say this guy was crazy for attacking you. But they also have to explain how come this guy ended up so messed up. Who neglected him? Oh shit, he looks better than us. You know what? Maybe he should have been, maybe now you start to look for excuses to blame you for being attacked. Maybe you shouldn't dress that way. Maybe you shouldn't have such a big mouth. You see how far this goes? The public will gaslight you when your situation reveals their neglect. That's what the public always does. Look, whatever comes from this co-worker case, whether he gets guilty or not, that's not his life stream is about. Even if he's guilty, I don't support the death penalty. Killing another human being won't solve anything. Because if this guy is guilty, if he's guilty, and is found guilty by the courthouse, and they give him the death penalty, listen, either they'll be killing another human being, and that guy is still someone's son. Okay? Someone's grandchild. All right? So so you have parents who are mourning the death of their children. So now you have two more parents mourning right now because their son is killed. This case by the government. But guess what? Those 4 students are still dead. They're not coming back. Well, guess what? The community is still neglectful. So nothing has changed for the better if this guy gets the death penalty. We have to focus on long-term solutions, not on quick fixes. So look at your own life and look at those around you. Understand this. Worldlings have a cult attitude. The main cult they're part of is society, as Brad explained. Apart from society, people tend to be members of multiple cults here and there. Just understand, worldlings have a cult attitude. They appeal to authority as a form of escape. So do not think that people in your life have your back. Some do, but that's rare. Most people out there, they'll go with the flow of society. If the flow of society is against you, they will join that flow, or they'll just abandon you so that it won't rub off on them. They'll say, yo, we're buddies, man. I got you back. We're family. Don't worry. I stand behind you. Before you know it, they're all gone. Or they ratted you out. Because worldlings lack self-worth. That's why they cling onto this fear construct called society just to feel like they matter. People like this, who similar to junkies, rely on a pat on the back by this cult society. I'm sorry. How come you have so much trust in people like that? You shouldn't. You should not have that much trust in people who are like junkies relying on the emotional validation of the group. If someone relies on the emotional validation of the group, that means they're emotional junkies. They'll do anything to get that high of approval, including turning on you, including setting you up. It's time for you to see people for what they are and not who they are. For what they are, not who they are. If you ever become the focus of bad attention, 9 out of 10 times people around you will join the bad attention, or strangers will even join the movement just so they can get a pat on the back for agreeing against you too, or because they are afraid that they can become the target of bad attention too. Am I saying that all people in the world out there are narcissistic enablers? No, absolutely not. There are decent, honorable human beings out there, absolutely. But stop assuming everyone you see in the street is honorable. That's not the case. And stop believing that the masses as groups are honorable. They're not. I did this live stream on a Sunday morning, the 6th of August, 2023. So I know, due to the timing, there weren't many people in the live during the live. But still, I'm going to ask, are there any questions about this topic? Not about the case. You can look up the case yourself online or whatever about the topic, because I use this case as an example for the topic I've addressed, which is this toxic appeal to authority worldlings have. Is there a question about that topic? Let me know now. I'll wait. See if I get any questions. I'll wait for another minute before I go get off the line. And one thing about the case also, why aren't the parents of this guy speaking out? Maybe they did, I'm not aware of it. If that's the case, you can correct me with sending me a link in the comment section, saying Rashid, the parents, they speak up, whatever. But if your son is accused of something like this, wouldn't you be out there campaigning for your son on his behalf? Shouldn't you at least have a benefit of the doubt towards your son? Oh, okay. Okay, but that's something for you to look into if you want. I don't know why you. Okay. China Page has a question. Should you always have a contingency plan for emergencies? Because the majority of people will flake out when you need help. Okay. First thing first, I'm not telling you to be paranoid and to be anxious about the people around you. No. What you should do is be realistic. Look, for example, let's say you work at Wendy's, whatever, or at the tax office, or at the bank. I don't care where. Let's say you're employed, you're working. Okay. You have income, you get your salary each end of the month. You pay rent with all of that. That is a setting you're operating in. Acknowledge that this setting is only possible due to a collective agreement. You go to work, you get paid end of the month. But to go to work, you also have to be in contact with fellow workers or colleagues. If the colleagues have issues against you, you may lose a job. If the employer is upset with you, you may lose a job. Or if there's pressure from the community around against you, the company may want to save your reputation, so you lose a job. So the option of you lose that income is always there. I don't care how qualified you are, how hard you work over there, how good performance you have, the risk of you lose that income is there. So as a believer, you always use your spiritual power over that setting on your behalf. Apart from doing that, also consider other options just in case. That's what you always do. Or let's say that you go on a vacation to, let's say, Bali or to Seychelles or to, I don't know, Fiji, whatever. Book your hotel or whatever, or guest house, wherever you're going. But always keep money aside and be ready to get out of the situation anytime. We need to consider the just in case scenarios. Too many people go out and enter situations without just in case preparation. Now, this just in case preparation is not the same as being doubtful. I'm not telling you that if you marry someone, you have to think, just in case, let me keep this side hoe over here as an option. I'm not talking about that, okay? I'm not saying that if you make a commitment to something, you should just throw away commitment like other people don't matter. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, check what you're dealing with. If you're dealing with fellow believers, okay, and those fellow believers are serious about doing the will of the Heavenly Father, okay, now you can be more relaxed towards those people, because you know those are people who love the Heavenly Father and will insist on doing His will on the earth. If you're dealing with people, whether believer or unbelievers, and you're not even certain whether they even want to be of good quality, I'm telling you, Be on guard. Don't be paranoid, but be on guard with those people. Simple as that. Tell them facts, don't tell them the truth. If they ask about your plans for the weekend, give them a vague explanation. Man, I might want to go to that party, maybe, because I'm in a party mood now. Give them a vague thing you likely want to do. But don't tell them what you exactly are going to do. Because I'm telling you why. Because these people, as I told you before, they have this toxic appeal for authority because they want to escape. If these people cannot control you or sabotage you, they'll become upset with you. And at some point, they get so upset with you, they will look you up physically to harm you. That's how they are. Because they don't want to look at themselves and realize, hold on a minute, why do I want to control their shit? Why do I keep complaining about their shit that much? What the heck's wrong with me? They don't want to go there. Oh, it must be their shit. It must be their shit. And when they know this, there's nothing bad happening to their shit. They want to take it in their own hands to set things right. According to their minds, they're the ones victimized, and they have to set it straight. So, Sheena, you should always have this just-in-case scenario planned out. Likely, you won't have to use it, but have it planned out just in case. Especially when there's proof, not evidence, which is suggestion, but especially when there's proof that people around you are not reliable. The moment you have proof that those around you are not reliable, make sure you have a just-in-case scenario. If you work at a job, consider going on welfare for a while. Consider or begin to apply for other jobs meanwhile too. Or consider going on a work exchange overseas to move away a little bit. If you live in a neighborhood and you notice people in the neighborhood are getting more and more toxic, I'm telling you to move out of the neighborhood, but consider maybe buying a tiny cabin somewhere, because you have those tiny cabins for sale. They're a bit cheap. Consider buying one of those cabins so that anytime that neighborhood things going off, you can just leave your place of residence and stay for a few weeks somewhere else. And just tell your coworkers and your employer, I want to work from home now. Think in terms of options and probabilities. Options and probabilities is how we need to learn to think. Don't have this reluctant, neglectful attitude of worldlings. It won't happen to me. It won't happen to me. Okay, certain things will not happen to you. If you're a man, you can't become pregnant ever. That's obvious. Or if someone lives all the way in Japan and they accuse you of sexual harassment that happened on past Tuesday, but the guy's all the way in Japan, you're all the way there in the United States, no court is going to take that seriously. So that will not happen to you. That you'll be arrested for some accusation all the way in Japan and you weren't even in Japan. Certain things will not happen to you. For example, you're not into smoking, okay? So the option of people finding you emptying a pack of cigarettes is not going to happen. Okay, certain things will not happen to you. That's obvious. But don't think you're immune from the public taking action against you. Now, as a saint, as a believer walking in power, you're immune from being hurt by it. You're immune from being murdered. Okay? You're immune to that. But you're not immune from people taking action against you. No human being, whether you're a filthy sinner or an ugly reprobate roaming the streets, or whether you are a saint walking the resurrection part of Christ, doesn't matter. No human being is immune from action being taken against them. The saint is immune from being hurt and murdered by the actions, but action can be taken against you. So you're not immune from that. Okay, any other questions about this topic, please? Too many people in history died. They were either murdered or they became the target of psychic violence and had accidents that were fatal, so they died early on. Why? Because they were so into their ease that they thought, nothing bad like that will happen to me, or they would falsely assume that the friends and family got their back. Now, if your friends and family were true to you and they truly have your back, be happy with that. But friends and family have your back is not the norm in the world. A lot of people insist it's the norm, but it's not the norm. Most people, when it comes down to it, they will go with the flow of society. Simple as that. Because it's all about surviving and escaping those people. All right? No more questions? Well, thank you all for being here. Again, keep your eyes open. Check what you're dealing with, not just what you're dealing with. And I'll see you next live stream. God is good all the time.